Politics is a very controversial issue, very complex. They say that there is nothing that deeply divides people than politics, religion, and money. It's very hard to talk about it, and I do not have all the answers. But I would like to offer the teachings of Jesus and lay down some very fundamental lessons. We are meditating for several Sundays already on the life of Christ. And that is the reason why I'm talking about this topic today. It's not because I want to make a political statement, but because I have been all along digging deeply into the life of Christ, and I have really been so blessed to know Christ in a new way, in new portraits of His life that I have never seen before, and also old portraits of His life that have acquired new meaning. And so that is the purpose for this meditation. And the topic that we are going to look at in the life of Christ is a statement He made that has become the foundation for the law on the separation of the church and the state. So that is what I'm going to look into, and I invite you to join me in this important topic that Christ talked about. The topic why Jesus brought up this matter on Caesar and paying taxes is because the Pharisees brought up this issue. And the reason why they brought up this issue is because they want to trap Jesus. The Pharisees are very, very anti-Christ. They are against Jesus. And in the future, I'm going to share a message, a full message on the Pharisees. The Pharisees are the people of God, so-called, and they represent the good and the best in the people of God, Israel. The cream of the crop, the best of the best, the Pharisees. However, tragically, and this is one of the greatest tragedies in the history of the world, the people of God themselves, led by the Pharisees, turned against God and killed the Savior that God sent. And so, the Pharisees, who are supposed to be the cream of the crop, has become the best of the best in evil and sin. Jesus, in contrast to the Pharisees, for they constantly conflict, is the very opposite of the Pharisees. The teachings and the life of Christ is in stark contrast to the good, quote-unquote, Pharisees. Who is really the good? And who is really the evil? Sadly, it is Jesus who is the good. And it is the Pharisees who are the evil. And so, this we are seeing is the conflict between evil, Pharisees, and good, Jesus. And so that is the purpose of this debate between them. A trap. There is an evil intent by the Pharisees. Why pick this topic about Caesar? Why is it that this is the particular question that the Pharisees put before Jesus? It is the Romans who were the rulers during the time. And Israel is under the Romans. So, it is the good Israel under evil, the Romans. Good is under evil. The Romans were the ones who were in power. They were the ones who are the king, not Israel. The bad guy, the king. The good guy, the slave, under. In those days, this is acceptable. The mightiest and the bravest are the ones who are correct. They say that God, quote unquote, is on the side of the one who has the heaviest artillery. Rome has the money. Money talks. And even in Philippine history, that has happened. The conquest for land, the expansion of the empire of Spain, of Rome, conquering nations, conquering peoples. Spaniards came to the Philippines for land, not for Christ. That was the Romans. And that is the reason why the Pharisees raised the Roman issue to Jesus. But there are also another group of people from Israel, and that is the revolutionaries who wants to free Israel from the Roman bondage. They are called the zealots, they are called the patriots, they are called the heroes, and the Israelites admire them. They are their heroes. The Pharisees also support them. The Israelite nation supported. But they are underground. It is a very dangerous task because they are risking their lives. Because the Romans are going to kill them. And so now we see the conflict between the Zealots and the Romans. The good and the bad. By raising this issue on the tax is a very complex and complicated matter. If Jesus says, pay taxes, the Zealots are going to be angry. And the people support the Zealots. And the Pharisees support the Zealots, although underground. And so if Jesus makes the statement, pay taxes, the Zealots are against Jesus. They don't want to pay taxes. They don't want to submit. They don't want to recognize the authority of the Romans. But if Jesus says, don't pay tax, the Zealots will be happy. The Romans will be enemies of Jesus. And so it's a question that is done if you do, done if you don't kind of answer. The trap the Pharisees is laying to Jesus. The Zealots have a very noble purpose. They want the liberation of Israel. They want peace for Israel. But the peace that they are fighting for is by war, by violence. The Israelites want to restore the kingdom of David, the golden age. Literally, that is the kind of Israel that the Zealots want. There is nothing wrong with that. But the kind of peace that Jesus is offering in this battle between good and evil, war and peace. The Zealots' peace is from without, and Jesus' peace is from within. It is founded on love and justice. It is a peace that is peace for all, human rights for all, a peace that will include all women, peace that will include the LGBT, peace that will include all people of color, a peace that will include justice for the unborn children. Jesus laid the foundation of that kind of society, and eventually the Roman Empire collapsed because of corruption, because of sin. Jesus changed history. I would like to share with you this poem. You can Google it for the full poem, but I do not have time to read the entire poem. One Solitary Life. He was born in an obscure village, the child of a peasant woman. He never owned a home, never held an office, never went to college. While he was dying, his executioners gambled for the only piece of property he had on earth, his coat. 19 centuries have come and gone, and today he is the centerpiece of the human race and the leader of the column of progress. I am far within the mark when I say that all the armies that ever marched, all the kings that ever reigned, put together, have not affected the life of man upon this earth as powerfully as that one solitary life. I was listening to a concert here in the Philippines, and I was struck by one line in a song that was the national anthem of the student activists in the Philippines during the reign of terror of the martial law in the Philippines. And the line in that song says, ang masa lamang ang lumilikha ng kasaysayan. It is the masses, the poor, who makes history, who change history. The peace of Jesus the United Nations symbol is the olive branch. Because it stands for world peace. That is needed. But Jesus' peace goes beyond. The peace of the world. Evil needs to be separated from good. In saying that render to Caesar what is Caesar's and to God that things that are God's, Jesus is making a revolutionary statement that Israel must be freed from the Roman rule. He asked for a coin. Currencies have faces. They are the faces of the people who are in the government. We no longer have the faces of our two national heroes, Jose Rizal and Andres Bonifacio, who stands in stark opposition against each other. One is a reformist, one is a revolutionist. And so when Jesus asked for the coin and said, whose face do you see here? Caesar. Then give to Caesar. What is his? Caesar is not Israel's. Israel has no part in Caesar, in the world. Caesar is not what Israel wants. And so give to Caesar what is Caesar. That is just right. That is Caesar's money. Give to Caesar his money. But give to God. What is God? What does that mean? Israel, God's people, is for God, and therefore Israel must be free. The separation. This is indeed a very, very revolutionary statement, and it has become the foundation of the doctrine of the separation between the church and the state. However, what Jesus taught, which is just the seed, the germ of this very revolutionary teaching, is not going to be realized until centuries later. It's not until Martin Luther caught this teaching and became the promulgator of the fight against the Pope, who controlled the kings, who ruled the church. Is the state the one who is really the reigning power with all its evil during that time and even before? All throughout history, the monarchy, the kind of government changed in Luther's fight for the separation of the church and the state, which is the start of the Protestant movement. And Germany, perhaps, is the first nation in the world who changed to democracy, called the German Democratic Republic, which revolutionized history and the government of the world. Democracy means demo, people, citizen, kratos from the Greek word rule, from king and church to people. And so that has been the conflict throughout all history. The need to recognize the independence of the church, the non-partisan character of God's people who are for all. We see all this conflict between these two opposing forces that must be independent of each other. The state and the church, Israel and the world. The separation. Playing in history. We have the Amish, who are totally non-violent. They do not fight wars. And we have the other crusaders who fight and wage war against the infidels. And when we really weigh both these, there are merits for non-violence and there are merits for fighting war to make peace. Against the terrorists, the Enish cannot win. Here in the Philippines, we have this tension of whether to speak out or to work from within. So we have the Archbishop of Manila Tagle who doesn't talk. And we have the new Archbishop of Manila Pabilio who speaks out. How do we free good from evil? And when good is under evil, what do we do? In Revelation, we see indeed a very stunning image of the church and the state in alliance against the people of earth. So we see the beast and Babylon against the bride, against the church, evil in the last days, ruling over the good. We are from very different and diverse backgrounds. But there comes a point when we must unite. There's a story about a boy who was lost in the sugarcane field. And people search for that boy. The sugarcane is very tall. And so when a boy enters and gets lost in that maze, it may be impossible for the boy to get out. And so the people in the community search and search, but were not able to find the boy. Finally, they thought, as the sun is going down and it's going to be night, let us join hands together. And as we form this joint hands of unity, let us comb the sugarcane field so that there will be purpose and direction for our search. And they did that. And yes, they found the boy. But it was too late. The boy suffocated to death. There is this very appropriate saying. In things essential, unity. In things inconsequential, liberty. In all things, charity.